Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to go truck and tractor pulling here at the ARP Me Showdown, presented by Kawasaki Parts Warehouse. Ken Stout and Leslie Mears here to call all the action for you. Can't wait to get the season going, and we're going to kick it off with a really exciting class. The super modified two-wheel drive trucks are in the house.
Roger Deathridge will be the first puller here, the test puller in taking up space.
And looks like it's going to tug it down at 268 and 57.
It looks like the rain that we had just one day ago here is really impacting the track. You can see it's just a little wet out there. And so for our smaller tired machines, they've got to figure out a way to get the air pressure right in those rear tires to get a good footprint to dig in and figure out this track and make their way towards the top end.
So Roger kicks things off here. We did not see him at Tampico in Indiana. We're now at Macon, Missouri as we take a look at this pulling order. As you can see, he's up at the top as our test puller.
Yeah, really excited to see some of the major players from last year's points championship. So we've got Michael White up there in addiction. The Nelsons are here in full effect, and check that out. They're in the bottom third of the lineup. Going to be really great for their team to make adjustments and try to make a go at this to take a win.
Up next to be David O'Driscoll out of Georgetown, Kentucky, driving the truck called Stone Cold.
Yeah, move that truck off the sideline into the center to take a different line.
It took a little bit to get a set, but it did pick up the front end fairly early on and kind of hung it there. Consequently, the distance is much better at 3:19 and 92.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about it for this whole class, that the pull is going to be won or lost in that first 150 feet. It's all about getting that big, heavy X-Factor sled rolling, figuring out how you can get the most traction, and then slowly building up your speed. The Stone Cold truck, no slouch, seen on the Ohio State tractor pulling circuit in the last couple years, as well as in a couple other regional events. But this is going to be a good bar set here by O'Driscoll for the field.
Up next will be a guy that finished up third in the points 1 year ago. His name is Michael White, and Leslie had a chance to speak to him.
So for the addiction truck, Michael, you've made a little bit of a change coming up to this year. There's always a learning curve with that. We've already been to Tampico. Pretty good numbers for you there, 8th and 5th. Did you figure out, kind of how you need to drive the truck here with this new change?
Well, we actually put the blower on for Louisville. So we had that pass, and then we went to Tampico. It was different. We had to make some adjustments with the fuel, but all good. Maybe we'll be better than that.
Is it giving you some more drivability off the line? Is it giving you more finishing on the top end? Where's the big notice that you're seeing?
I think just more drivable, probably.
A man of few words. Couple of podiums a year ago to finish up third in the points. Very consistent. Boy, and Leslie, you really made a call there whenever you called that first 100 feet there on that last hook, because he never got the front end up until really late in this hook, and consequently the distance shorter at 3:13 and 91.
It looks like he gets a couple hops right off the starting line and then decides to just go full throttle to try to power through it. And that's the different approach. You'll see some guys really try to walk it out before they put all the power to the ground. But here, White tries to power through it early, try to get those tires spinning and try to catch something off that starting line to keep him moving and get him propelling forward.
After our first two hooks, this is Jonathan Payne comes in here in the truck called Rampage, currently 8th in the points, so not all bad there in the first couple of hooks. Did not run the entire season last year. He's got a great looking hot rod, but unfortunately it looks like he'll lay up a bit short here today at 306 and 71.
And, I think Payne is just really trying to get used to this super modified two-wheel drive truck. If you've seen him on the regional circuit, he had a four-wheel drive truck. And so having all four on the floor is way different than that front clip moving up into the air. He's also got a ton more horsepower, probably twice the amount of horsepower that he had in the four-wheel drive truck. So some adjustments on the track, but he's a good track reader, knows what's out there, and just trying to figure out how to put that power all to the ground.
Up next, a truck we typically do not see on the national tour here. It's called the USMC. I'm guessing certainly referring to the United States Marine Corps. Bob Martin out of Huntsville. And it's going to tug it down at 264 and 47.
And Bob sat out for a couple years. He's from just down the road, about 30 miles. And if you're an old school pulling fan, you know the Grim Reaper and you know the Missouri Mule. And those were his two former vehicles. He got out of pulling for a while, but now his great grandson wants to get back into it. And so this is a motor that sat for a couple years. He's just bringing it back on the circuit. He's going to do a little pulling for a while to try to break it in. Then he's going to pass the torch. We're just getting started here with super modified two-wheel drives. Stay tuned.
The Hot Shot Secret Pro Pulling League is brought to you by ARP, Fleece Performance Engineering, and by Optima Batteries. And we welcome you back to the ARP Show Me Showdown presented by Kawasaki Parts Warehouse. We're here in Macon, Missouri. Second stop on the tour here for 2025. Midnight Obsession coming out here with Jim Corey behind the wheel out of Bedford, Indiana. Finished up on the podium and the second hook at Tampico in Indiana. And finally gets out of the throttle there as he burns it in at 304 and 90.
It's interesting. Everyone keeps sticking with the middle there, and we're just seeing those distances diminish. And yeah, I can see, okay, Bob Martin came out here and, he's a little down on power and that line didn't work for him. I really think they've got to go back over towards that left sideline. That's where we saw some success. That's where we saw Stone Cold go earlier to try to pick up that extra distance. And so moving it over towards that left sideline might be the line. It could be wet over towards the center of the track because all that rain we had earlier.
Dale Nelson coming up here in the Forever Hook. Beautiful looking Ford here. Well, and it took him a little while till he finally went full throttle. When he did, it picked up the front end, but still not what he was looking for or hoping for. 287 at 21.
You really hit it, Ken. He walks it out so far because he's trying to feel that truck hook up to the track. And in doing that, it looked like he didn't go full throttle till about 150 feet. By doing that, it just doesn't leave him much room at the top end to really stretch the legs on the truck before that box tops off. It looked like it's topping off there about 225, and so he just doesn't have the ground speed up to keep it going. So we've seen a lot of different approaches here. We've seen that approach with just taking it slow and easy and then getting after it fast. Somebody's going to find the middle.
Chad Mayill will hook up to the sled here next, and once again, Leslie had a chance to speak to him earlier.
I heard some unusual words here at the P5 camp, and that was no changes. So Chad, is this something that's kind of normal for you guys? And, because you've been competitive the last several years, have you made very many changes?
Not a whole lot. I mean, just kind of stay with our basic thing. Just, get reps on driving. I think that's more of than anything is just don't screw up driving. So.
And, there's so much out there that you can screw up as a driver. I mean, there's so many variables, and I think that's hard for people to understand in pulling. So what's kind of the one thing that, you focus on? You had a good day at Tampico. You had a not so great day. How do you turn it around and bring back that good day here in Macon?
We had had 2 shots at it Friday night, ended up second. So that was excellent, and then Saturday night they had little sled troubles on getting it set. I was first puller, didn't have an option, was all over the brake trying to keep it in bounce, and it showed. It didn't pay off.
So how do we recover here? I know there was some moisture, last night. It looks like they've done a good job drying it out today, though.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. Hopefully, just consistency's the main thing that we need. So
there's that word, consistency. What we love to hear here.
And pretty easy to see there, he lost a cylinder right at the very beginning of that hook, so losing a ton of horsepower there right along with it. Consequently, his distance not what he was hoping for either, a good bit short.
It's still a respectable distance considering he's down all that power. And, I think he would have liked to pick the front end up more and got a better transfer of weight. That's what would have helped him there with that extra power. It would have brought that front end up 12 to 14 inches like he wanted, driven the 6,200 pounds into the rear tires, and he immediately gets out and starts looking at it to see what the issue is back there. Maybe it was a fuel line that came off or something easy that he can fix for day 2.
And up next will be the Park City Auto Parts Machine, driven by Lisa Tatum, of course, a former champion side of the category from Bardstown, Kentucky. Did grab a win in the 2024 season towards the end of the season at Salem. Drifts off to the side a little bit towards the end, but 309 and 39. It turns out to be a fairly respectable hook here.
Yeah, that's the best distance we've seen in quite some time. Love that she gives herself a lot of room out there in order to let that truck float to the sideline. And, that's what a former champion does. Reads the track, reads the reaction of the truck. She does hit a little bit of that right brake to bring it back around at the very tail end, but does a good job legging out her distance and making it work for her here.
Yeah, she jumps up into the top 3 right now, with our leader still being stone cold at 319 and 92, followed up by Michael White and the Addiction at 313 and 91. This is Jansen Smith with the stimulus package. Find out how Jansen does here out of Dry Ridge, Kentucky. On a nice job right there, 313 and 73. That'll take third place away from Lisa Tatum as it stands right now, and just short of second with Michael White's 313 and 91.
Really interesting. He split the tracks of Tatum to the right and then keeps the truck in the center. Does a really good job. You see him doing that correction early on the starting line before he's built up power so he doesn't lose any of it. And then is able to just have a straight shot down the track. It's really been cool to see him take over for his dad here and continue and have so much success.
Up next will be Jeremy Nelson out of Sydney, Illinois with the Midnight Gambler. Gorgeous truck, won podium a year ago, finished up 6th in the points. Just missed the podium at the second hook at Tampico. Oh, and he came to play ball here tonight. 321 and 82. We have a brand new leader.
Yeah, the smoothest pass that we've seen so far, Ken. And check it out. Moves it over towards that left sideline, gets some fresh dirt on the starting line for those tires. It's a little rough to start, but look how early he gets the front end up and actually turns it away from the sideline so that he doesn't get into the chalk. If he had not turned it, I think that the track would have just taken him straight to the white chalk. He would have got a DQ. That's a no-no, and now he's up there in the top 5.
Welcome back to the ARP Show Me Showdown, presented by Kawasaki Parts Warehouse. We're at the Macon County Fairgrounds here in Macon, Missouri, covering the super modified two-wheel drive trucks presented by Optima Batteries. Here comes a player. He had 3 wins a year ago and 6 podiums, already back-to-back podiums, including a win this year at the first 2 hooks. And Leslie spoke to him.
An awesome start to the season here for the Midnight Revenger. And, Jared, you said it's all luck, but we know that that's a little bit of a lie. You guys are a seasoned team. You're always vying for that championship. What helped you get out of the gate so hard this year?
I mean, really just good equipment. Like John Card with our engine program. I mean, he works his tail off all winter long. We R&D, we try new things. Last year we really kind of got to where we thought we was good, just fought a lot of parts failures. Hopefully this year everything's getting kind of dialed in, and we'll just make a charge to the front.
Yeah, and I know you and Jeremy have spent a lot of time at the track today. It looked a little suspect when we rolled in here earlier in the day because of all the rain overnight. How's it been shaping up?
It's looking pretty good, and that's you hit the nail on the head there. That's the other big key. We're a 4-truck team. The information we share is crucial. Last week I was the last of our trucks. A couple weeks before, same thing. Like when you can go run one and make small changes and make smaller changes again, like sooner or later you're going to hit a perfect setup. So I mean that's key, is having a big team and share information. Sooner or later you're going to get one that's just dead on.
And of course, Jared comes in here leading the points, courtesy of those back-to-back podiums. Oh yeah, and the Nelsons are here to fight for sure. Jared Nelson is going to surpass Jeremy Nelson. He puts 3:22 and 41 on the board.
And a great adjustment here by Jared. You can see from the starting line, he points that nose to the right-hand corner of the track and uses that right brake to keep it going that way. He saw Jeremy's run and how he had to get in the brake and how it was going to take him over towards that left sideline. That little tiny adjustment of just tilting the truck towards the right sideline really helps him out in that case and helps him get that extra distance to take the lead.
Up next will be Chad Mayill. Of course, we saw him a little bit earlier with the P5 truck. We'll see if he learned anything inside of that one, made some adjustments, and has a better effort here in the two-timer. Wow, and this is an unbelievable distance. It just did not look happy at the beginning of this hook, but he's going to take over the lead at 3:23.05.
Splits the tracks of both Nelsons to the right-hand side, points it towards the corner, just lets the truck float and do its job. Ken, this is also the advantage of having those 2 trucks out there. Remember, he lost a cylinder in his first pass in the truck, so he's got a good feel for the track. He knows how it's going to react out there, so he can change the tune on this one, adjust his driving style just a bit, and leg it out there. Great job by Mayill.
And here comes the sweet revenge. Of course, a former champ in the category as well, Bethany Nelson out of Altamont, Illinois. A couple of trucks in the camp have already gone ahead of her, and they did really, really well. Let's see what she has.
Big break right there.
Yeah, it picked up the front end, but then it slammed it back down, so clearly losing grip for a moment, and it really cost her. 3:12.03 is the mark.
She gets her ground speed up really, really quickly, and it's going to be a bullet pass. And then right here, that's when she hits the break, and you can see she's got her front tires turned. Night 2 at Tampico, she goes out of bounds, and that means a minimum 25 points on the night. She didn't want to do that again, and once you go out of bounds, you're a little bit gun shy of that chalk line, and so she just wanted to make sure she kept it in bounds. If she hadn't done that mid-track, I really think that she would have extended the lead past Mayill. But she kept it in bounds. She keeps herself in the top 10, and that's what you got to do long run for the points.
Here comes a midnight chaos. This is Tanner Nelson. And Tanner's going to lay up a little bit short of Bethany at 3:10 and 79.
And you know, Tanner just getting his feet wet this season. He's done a couple regional hooks since he's turned 16, taking over driving duties for his mom, Misty. So we've got a third-generation puller here in the Midnight Chaos, making his debut on the Champions Tour circuit.
And that's the last truck in the category. Congratulations to Chad Mayill on a great win here. This is a big hook in Macon, Missouri for sure, and a very, very tough field. Here's a look at the final distances. As you can see, very close up at the top. Chad Mayill, 3:23.05, followed up by Jared Nelson at 3:22 and 41. And of course, he pulled right after Jeremy Nelson at 3:21 and 82. So the Nelsons with 2 trucks up on the podium. A great night for them. Let's get it down to Leslie.
Which had that second pass tonight was very redeeming. I know you had some mechanicals with the first truck, but take us through what you saw out there, the changes that you made, and how you were able to get around those Nelsons.
I just kind of, I was actually wanting to go clear to the other side, and then Jeremy took the lead, and I'm like, I gotta follow suit. Split his tracks over and come out on top. Didn't do a very good job driving, but it worked.
Listen, as long as the number is the biggest one at the end of the night, that's all that really matters out here. I know you were upset about that mechanicals. That's one in the lead, but this is solid. You know, this shows it. You know, this truck is running hard, and you've got a good one out here this year.
Yeah, I gotta thank UD Motorsports. They give us a 4.9 Noonan to run. Actually, out of Chase the truck that won the farm show, and. We're progressively getting better with it, figuring out what it likes and how to drive it and whatnot. So, yeah, we're amped up about it.
Yeah, I could tell. You know, at the end of the night, you know, the hugs between this crew right here, that was kind of a sight to see tonight.
Yep, I got to thank my crew, Cadence, Kyler, and Cody. They hold me together.